Looking back at how far we've come as a profession, we can be forgiven if we were to pat ourselves on the back. It would be understandable if we were to pause and celebrate the tenacity with which we have tackled the challenges we went through. However, can we afford to rest on our laurels and say we have reached the pinnacle of the impact we have as business analysts? Have we truly cemented our role in the eyes of our stakeholders and expanded our sphere of influence in our environments? As we celebrate 10 years of our highly successful and internationally renowned Business Analysis Summit Southern Africa, we are certain that we are not only about surviving, we are about thriving. And to be truly honest with ourselves, we must introspect and look at where business analysis is headed both locally and globally. We have all heard about the new normal. Now we need to carve the next norm. We know that the business analyst role is no longer what it
Good evening and welcome everybody to our In Conversation Thursday. My name is Liana Arends-Texera. I'll be assisting. A warm welcome to our guest, Oupa Masilela. He's the Executive Head of CEO Standard Bank. In conversation with Oupa, we have Zeki Shirinza. He's the Regional Chapter Lead. They will be discussing how to thrive using business analysis skills. Before Zeki does the introduction, just some house rules. Some quick rules and other bits. We ask you to please stay on mute unless clear to talk. Switch off your video. Only the presenter's videos are allowed. The presentation will be 45 minutes long. Please post your questions in the main chat or in the Q&A. We will try for the last 15 minutes to address as many of the questions as we can. The presentation will be uploaded to the IIBA SA YouTube channel. Also, if you wish to become a member of the IIBA South Africa, please visit the website. Also on the website for the next events. And should you wish to present a tool or a technique, please, or even become a volunteer, please contact us on durban@southafrica.iiba.org. Thank you for joining us. Zeki, you will introduce Oupa.
Thank you very much, Liana. Thank you. And yeah, so I think let me just introduce Mr. Oupa Masilela. Oupa is an executive head of COE, Center of Excellence in Standard Bank Group. He holds an MBA and a bachelor's degree in pharmacy, PMP, Prince 2, CIPA with Harvard. Oupa is a seasoned business transformation executive, harnessing more than 15 years experience in business re-engineering, credit risk management, and project management within financial services and public arenas. Oupa Masilela presents a significant career success in driving businesses strategies that enable growth, account management, and cross-sell opportunities to achieve maximum return on equity. An MBA degree alongside PMP, Prince 2 practitioner certifications, and a senior executive Africa strategy certification from Harvard University bolster Oupa's project management dexterity with early career highlights, including having spearheaded large operating model rollout post-merger acquisitions of Absa and Barclays International. With sharpened aptitude for business transformation and industry trends analysis alongside an express talent for coaching and developing high performance team. Oupa's career, he joined Standard Bank in 2009 after having spent time in Barclays as a business transformation lead. Oupa's skill sets extends from program management, banking credit collections, product portfolio to Africa region strategic development and enablement. He is currently the head of a COE, which is Center of Excellence in Standard Bank Group Compliance, responsible for effectively enabling group compliance in executing its mandate and responsibility. He is passionate about leadership development and strongly believes that great achievers do so because they can execute ideas. Welcome, Mr. Masilela, to In Conversation series. And thank you, Oupa, for availing yourself. How are you this evening?
Great. No, thanks, Zeki, and thanks, Liana. I mean, that was quite a long introduction. I would have cut it very short, but I'm good. It's good to be here. It's good to see everyone online. I'm excited. It's Thursday, and people always say it's Puza Thursday, so definitely is Conversation Thursday on our side. Yeah. So I'm happy to be here and sharing the space. Thank you.
Thank you, Oupa. So this evening, ladies and gentlemen, we will be looking at some of the competencies, skills a BA must have in order for them to thrive. We will be taking a closer look at elicitation and collaboration, strategy analysis, knowledge areas. We will be trying to link them to the following top skills highlighted in the global survey for 2022 report: stakeholder engagement and relationship building, adaptability, analytical thinking, and problem solving skills. And this also on the BA book guide version 3, and the report is also on the BA book website, and it's available for members on iiba.org. So without further ado, hopefully we are going to have an insightful session today. So without further ado, Oupa, so I know that we're trying to link elicitation and collaboration, and then in terms of that knowledge area, which is BA book, one of the 6 knowledge areas of BA book. So we've tried to associate skills of stakeholder engagement and relationship building. So in BA BOG, they describe the tasks that business analysts perform to prepare for and conduct elicitation activities and confirm the results obtained. It also describes the communication with stakeholders once the business analysis information is assembled, right? And the ongoing collaboration with them throughout the business analysis activities to keep them engaged, to ensure that the business needs and the requirements that the business analyst documents aligns. It also, what I've done is I've searched the word stakeholders in BA book. Funny enough, it comes up 1,211 times, which emphasize the importance of stakeholders and the reason why we need to have to engage an engagement model and build relationships with them to get better outputs. And according to your view, Oupa, why are the skill, or why is this particular skills important? And then how have you used the skill in your career to get better outputs?
Great. No, thanks, Zeki. And please allow me to respond the way I do fit. Maybe I may not follow logically the way you would like me to do so. But in any way, I think where things start from the BA point of view, to your point, is around defining those requirements and capturing them accurately. That's the ticket to the game. That's where the BA comes in. That's where things start. That's how the value chain kicks off as well. But I think what is key is not the production of the business requirement document and the sign off thereof. I think is the quality, is the accuracy, and what we're trying to solve for. So I think in my career and what I've realized is that traditionally, I've been following the field for long. I think we were driven around the sign-offs to say, I've got a PRD document, it needs to be signed off. And when we report progress, it was purely based on tick exercise, it has been signed off. But things have shifted. I think as a BA, what we look for now is to say, are we certain around what the problem statement is? I think if we can articulate what we're trying to solve for, what are the pain points, talking about the stakeholders, not only from internal perspective point of view, not from what the business want, not from what the project owner or project sponsor want, but the beneficiaries as well, and maybe the overall recipient of whatever the solution that we are putting, whether it's customers, whether it's clients, whether it's partners. So when we define those requirements, it has to be holistically from stakeholder point of view. It covers internally, it covers externally. We understand the pain points, we understand what we're solving for. Then in that instance, then we know that we are delivering a fit for purpose solution. I mean, as I was listening to the video, the opening video that you guys were playing here, I think there's one line I picked up there. You spoke about the sphere of influence as well. So this is where it becomes practical. So the sphere of influence is to say we need to be able as BA to professionally challenge and push back if we feel like the solution that has been pushed is not appropriate, is not fit for purpose. I think to me that's what the BA role is supposed to be. I mean, as we all know, we in most cases we are time bound, we are cost bound, so we try to move as swiftly as we can to implementation. But most of you will know, they always say, thumbs-up, ball figure, 70% of projects fail because we don't spend enough time in terms of understanding the problem they're solving for from that point of view. So eliciting the requirements starts there. It's a key. If you get that right, I think then most of the thing will follow suit. The other one is on stakeholders as well. I still believe in the old model in terms of doing the stakeholder mapping around the influence and the impact in the project. That will guide you as a BA from point of view in terms of where do you spend your much time. So you don't want to spend much time to people that they just need to be kept informed from FYI point of view. But you want to spend much time to people who've got influence and got an interest and who are decision makers in moving the project or your scope ahead as well. So when you are mapping your stakeholders, if you put them in that grid and you focus on those that are influential, I think then it buys you a lot of mileage to win in that instance. But also, and we'll talk about it later on, in terms of stakeholder management as well, it's not a one size fits all. Depending on the difficult stakeholders you're dealing with, some people are ugly, let's use the word. Some people are ugly, some people are nasty. Some people, they come up with preconceived solutions. And if you push back, it's like you're challenging their own, concept or whatever that they believe in. So I think the ability to navigate those and making sure that you appropriately position the solution in their mind and looking at the bigger picture in terms of what you're delivering is quite key as well. So yeah, so I think that's what is important from eliciting the requirement from that point of view. The success of that will not be measured by yourself, but will be measured by the feedback that you get post the delivery of the solution. I mean, when you do post-mortem of any delivery, then the feedback from the stakeholders that you will have mapped and the beneficiaries and the recipients will then, give you the assurance that you did the right job. So the measure is not the number of the BRD sessions you're going to have, the offsite session you had, the brown paper sessions you had. That's not the measure. The measure is the output from that point of view. So we don't measure the effort, but we measure the output and the results thereof. Yeah, maybe let me pause there. I think that's what is key around this discipline, Zeki.
Thank you, Opa. Yeah, you touched on a very important point, dealing difficult stakeholders, right?
Yeah.
that is always a nightmare for BAs in terms of dealing that, right? I remember when I started my career 12 years plus ago in the collection space as a BA then. So it was quite difficult dealing with heads, executives, trying to drive your outputs or getting inputs from them when they already know what they have in mind in terms of their what their project objective is. So how can you advise BAs to deal with difficult stakeholders as an executive yourself, right? I'm not sure if you've been a difficult stakeholder to some of the BAs.
No, not at all. No, but you know, it's easy for somebody to collaborate and partner with you if they fully understand what it means for them. So if you put myself in my shoes, if I'm the business owner or I'm the recipient of the solution that you are proposing from that point of view, it's a matter of saying what is it, what's in it for me from that point. So if you define the benefits, how will this transform my world? How will this leapfrog the competition? How will this be a differentiator in the market? You know, what am I going to save? Am I going to be more effective? Am I going to be more efficient from that point of view? So if you come from that angle point of view in terms of what does this mean, rather than pushing a solution, it's very easy for people to collaborate. But over and above, it's always good to come in from suggestion point of view. I always say, when you come in with one solution and one solution only, it comes across as if your mind has been made up around that solution. So it's always good to come up with 3 or 4, have recommendations of what you think can work, and have the pros and cons along those. And then you influence to the direction that you feel maybe option A is what you are buying, is what you are advocating for. You influence towards that, you know, you blow the benefits of this one, you highlight, you amplify them from that point of view. So in that instance, it's easy for somebody to jump in and say, I think you're making sense, you know, that point of view. So that's how I think we deal with difficult stakeholders. But as I say, it's not a one size fit all. Some people, they want to draw the lines. This is my space. This is how I operate. You will execute. I'm just employing you to do this. But I think slowly, as they see the value add and how you show up is very important as well as a BA point of view. So if you are professional, you show up professionally. So you are competent. You don't wing it. You prepare for sessions. I mean, it's frustrating you get into the session and people haven't read the documents or they are not closer to the details of the same document that they're presenting themselves. Then you lose credibility from that point of view. So how you prepare, you are closer to the detail, you can answer to the question. If you don't know the answer, you don't wing it. You just say, I don't know the answer, I'll come back to you. Then there's credibility in that instance. You know, then slowly they will warm up to you. I don't think any executive, they're so ugly that they don't want a solution. So it's a matter of saying how do you just, you know, ease in from that perspective. Yeah.
No, I understood. I think it leads us to the next knowledge area very nicely, right? Where BAs obviously they've been missing in those strategic sessions, strategic decisions in terms of businesses making decisions before consulting a BA and a BA doing analysis. We understand because we are time bound and they businesses pressed to deliver on projects, and business wants to see value in terms of ROEs and so forth, and increasing their customer base and so forth. But in terms of the strategy analysis, where we're coming from a BA BOK perspective, and then we've associated that skill to adaptability, right? And I also searched the word strategy in the BA BOK. It came out 320 times, which is way less than the other word, which is stakeholders, right? And obviously, according to BA BOK, strategy is defines the most effective way to apply the capabilities of an enterprise in order to reach a desired set of goals. And objective strategies may exist for the entire enterprise, for a division, department or region, and for a product, project or iteration. In a fast-paced world that we're currently living in, obviously business needs must quickly identify a need of strategic and tactical importance. Like I said, we are time-bound in that aspect. We can't wait the whole year for a BA to deliver on their requirements when we have a pain point as business, all right? So the adaptability from a BA perspective becomes very imperative, right? And the agile skills are also important, ability to not to get stuck in the detail and to deliver quality analysis speedily. So that said, Opa, what role can a BA play in improving the decisions strategically and tactically? Because they can switch at any point, right? And obviously BA needs to understand that, to say, okay, even if the strategic objective is X, but at any point we can shift to Y so that we can quickly meet the business need so that it can satisfy our customers. So according to your view, what can a BA do in order for them to, one, play in that field or in that upper level, and then two, give advice, tangible advice that can benefit business?
Yeah, no, thanks, Zeki. Maybe let's start by aligning in terms of, I know you quoted the definition of strategy from the big book. Yeah, well, do I buy into it? Maybe I do, maybe I don't. So please allow me. So I think we need to demystify, because people think when you talk strategy, then you have arrived. You know, when it says I'm at a strategic level, it's like, it's the upper room that everyone wants to be at. The truth of the matter is, strategy is simply on how we're going to go about delivering to aspiration. I think before we even talk about strategy, because strategy is supposed to be executable, is around understanding the aspiration of the business. What do we aspire to? What is it that we are planning for ourselves? Where do we see ourselves in a year, in 2 years, in 3 years? Aligned to the vision and the mission of the organization as well. And also where there are opportunities, and maybe if we see a gap, either to increase the market share, if we see a gap, either to increase, to minimize our cost to income ratios and all of that stuff, then we can come up with the plans around how we're going to go about doing that. That's what strategy is how are we going to do to deliver to the aspiration. So answering your question, what's the role that the BA can do? The only way that one can influence any strategy discussion or have a view is when you've got content, and I'll use user cases. So this is where most of us needs to invest time to do research, linking into the industry, understand where things are going, understand the latest products, services. We live in a digital world now. There's a lot of, in terms of the machine learning, the AI, there's ChatGPTs and all of that stuff. So one has to keep up with the dynamic environment that we operate in. So if we can do that, and and you've got user cases that you can tap into from literature review point of view, then it's easy for you to have a voice from that point of view. So because you must be resourceful as a BA, and you can only influence. They always say the best way to survive in a foreign land is to understand their language. If you want to go to China, you must learn Mandarin, be able to speak, then you can survive. So same apply in an organization. For you to be able to influence strategy and have increase your spheres of influence is to understand the environment you're operating in. If you are in the financial sector, know what drives the financial sector. What are the pain points in the financial sector? What keeps the regulator up at night? What do we foresee as an upcoming issues in the financial sector? Not only locally, but globally as well. What are the best practices out there that maybe your organization can adopt and leapfrog competition as well. So you need to broaden up your scope of understanding, not only just producing the requirements and maybe the functional spec from that point of view, but understanding bigger than just your scope of your responsibilities as well. So to me, maybe the advice would be read, research, engage, rub shoulders with people that are not in your industry, and just broaden up your scope, because then you can have a voice in the table. I think that's what is very important. But maybe lastly, to close on this, I think once the strategy has been defined and then it's given to the PA to come up now with solutioning around it, I think the value add from that point of view is not to deliver, but it's also to interrogate the appropriateness. Maybe most companies would like to invest, particularly those leaders that go to MIT and Harvard, they come back and they've got something to deliver, because now there's this buzzword that they've picked up from their trip and they just want someone to run with it. With due respect, to analyze, understand it. Maybe don't have to invest 3 million just to deliver that. You could invest 500K and have a technical solution around that, because things are moving so fast. Is presenting those user cases of why you think this option is better than what has been proposed. Yeah. So I think that's what we can do as PAs as well.
Very interesting, Opa. So I think obviously in understanding those requirements and understanding the strategy and things like that, it's obviously quite important as well, right? And understanding the lay of the land, like you said, speaking the language of like the analogy that you just made, that if you go to a foreign land is to understand their language, so that at least you can understand them and you can communicate with the people there. So obviously it brings me to the next point. When you're there, I know that I've heard of tools like SWOT analysis and value chain analysis. So what tools and techniques in your view can a BA utilize other than those two, so that they can obviously bed down that strategy analysis, understanding the strengths, weaknesses, opportunity and threats, which will come from your competitors, right? And opportunities that you can gauge from there. Are there any other tools and techniques that can be used to basically understand strategy analysis or in strategic analysis?
Yeah, I mean, those tools, as you mentioned them, they sound old, the SWOT analysis, very cheap. But the truth of the matter is they are very relevant. I think those are the ones that, to me, it doesn't matter whatever latest tools are from that point of view. But if you stick with those, you won't go wrong. But the biggest, I think the most appropriate way to go about is firstly understanding what you are solving for. So having a defined, well-defined problem statement is key. Because I don't know if you've been engaged in a project where the project takes so long and it takes time to deliver. In the midst of trying to catch up on scope and so forth, maybe there was a scope creep and this and this. At the end, everyone is not aligned in terms of what we're trying to solve for here. What are we doing? If you can just stop the meeting and ask everybody, guys, what are we solving for here? You might have 5 or 6 different versions of an answer from that point of view. So to me, it's around always keeping in mind, what are we solving for? What is the problem statement? And sometimes because projects take so long, you'll find that when you deliver the solution, sometimes it's obsolete. Because at the time when the problem was identified, it was a problem, it was a pain point, but the world has shifted, the landscape has shifted. When you deliver, things have moved. So how do you make sure that you remain relevant at any given time on any solution that we do from strategy point of view? And the only way to do that is to understand the market in which you operate in. What are the users looking for? What are the consumers looking for? What makes them tick? from that point of view. What is the latest? What's going on in the global environment? So to keep up with the latest developments in the user demand, I think it's key. I mean, Steve Jobs once said, most consumers, they don't know what they want until you present it to them. So in that way, that's how most companies then start creating markets, because you present a solution that is not solving the current problem, but it stimulates the current need. That's when you realize, oh, I never knew I needed this. I mean, those who are kind of my age, when we started using the phones as an example, we didn't have touch screen. I used a BlackBerry, which was button. It had 1, 2, 3, and ABCs and all of that. And we're very comfortable with it. But we never knew that we needed a touch screen and to make our life easier, because we couldn't conceptualize that. But when Steve Jobs introduced it, we realized, oops, wow, maybe this is a good idea. So I think it's that twofold. You are solving a problem, you are addressing a current need, or you go in a blue ocean strategy from that point of view. So blue ocean strategy is, I'm creating a market that never existed. I'm coming up with something that is, has never been there before. That's another way of looking at it. So another strategy is a blue ocean strategy that most people apply to create a new market. Thanks again.
Thanks, Opa. No, that's nice, man. Okay, I think it obviously after that, all that is said and done, so we have to look at the solution part of things, right? And then obviously, and some of the skills that are associated with solutioning is your analytical and thinking skills and problem solving skills, right? BA BOK describes the task of solution evaluation that business analysts must perform to assess the performance of the value delivered by the solution in use by the enterprise, and to recommend removal of barriers or constraints that prevent full realization of the value, right? So in terms of that, and obviously from an executive position and making decisions in terms of the solutions that a BA presents, what makes you comfortable when a BA comes with that pack of solution to present to you, and what makes you comfortable in the BA presenting, one, the solution, and then two, to go with it?
Yeah, thanks for that question. This is not me doubting the integrity of BAs from that point of view, but it's just making sure that whatever we deliver, let me put it like this: when we're delivering a solution, or when the BA is delivering a solution, they're not doing it for themselves. There's a recipient, there's a beneficiaries for who are going to benefit from that. There are users who are going to be using that system or that solution from that point of view. So what gives me comfort, over and above the BA presenting, call it a sign-off document to say we have delivered, it's working fine, is that user acceptance. Do we have users who can advocate and be the voice for the solution? It's always good to have them in the room, not just to have the sign-off. It's always good to have that post-mortem for the users to come back and say, this has transformed our environment. We are more effective, we're more efficient. We used to take 3 hours doing whatever the task is. Now we take 30 minutes from that point of view. Our quality has improved from Y to Z. That gives comfort. Then we know that we have added value and we have delivered to the ask. So in most cases, you'll find that we don't invite the users to come and join, particularly when we're delivering the solution or maybe communicating the solution. I think it's key if we could have those that are benefiting from the solution that the BA would have put, to come and be the advocate and be the evangelist of whatever the solution that has been delivered. So to answer your question directly, that's what would give me comfort.
So we're talking about customer first. Not the
Yeah.
system, by the way.
Yes, yes,
So
not the system, but making sure that the customer comes first, the customer understands, because we are delivering for them in any way. Otherwise,
agreed with that.
we are making our own homework here, from that point of view. Otherwise, we're making our own homework.
No, agreed. So yeah, Ms. Masilela, I think in terms of solutioning, right? Obviously, there's those joint sessions and things like that.
Yeah.
I think obviously involving your stakeholders earlier on in terms of when you're still eliciting the requirements, which at the moment we talk about design thinking, right? Whereby obviously we can go in terms of the designers, they can go and do the market research to see how the market is want the product to respond, or what do they need, right? So I think obviously that can fit well in terms of trying to solve for a customer. But then again, we go back to what Steve Jobs was saying, that build something that the world hasn't seen yet. The customers don't know what they want up until you develop it for them. You talked about the BlackBerry, you talked about the touch screen. Now, here's where the question, right? So in you solving for the customer, and then creating something new that the customer will use and it will revolutionize the world, like Steve Jobs has done, where is that line basically in terms of the solution that you're trying to drive to the customer? How sure are we that that particular product will work if we have the customer in mind? Steve Jobs proved that it can be done the other way around.
So to answer you directly, this is where I think every business leader must have an entrepreneurship mindset. Because an entrepreneur looks beyond what is working well and trying to maintain the status quo. But it looks for opportunities where they don't exist. They want to come up with stuff that has never been done before. They are maverick from that point of view. So there are no guarantees. So if you have to say, I just want to be sure that this solution will revolutionize, this is going to, take off, there's going to be a huge uptake, and I'm going to make profit out of this, there'll be shareholders chasing me, then you'll never land anything, unfortunately. So, I mean, this is where the agile ways of work and agile ways of approach to life comes in. So if you can deliver it, release it, there's no uptake, you fail, you learn from it, you move, develop again, persistence and resistance comes in, and making sure that, you keep on it until it's refined to a way that it takes off. That's what the entrepreneurs, I think, get right versus the business leaders. Because if you look at how most of our CEOs, with due respect, that are running corporates, in most cases, not all, but in most cases, it's about maintaining the status quo. The shareholders want the ROE of 20%. They want a cost-to-income ratio of less than 50%. You must increase the market share. They don't think beyond that. They just want to maintain the numbers, keep the shareholders happy. But an entrepreneur thinks beyond that as well. So if you're a business leader with entrepreneurship mindset, I think it's a perfect word. That's a nice collaboration, or call it convergence of two minds. So to me, to answer you, you need to be risk receptive and not averse. You go in not knowing. But it doesn't mean that you go in not having done your homework. You would have done your homework. You would have perceived things. You would have done a whole lot of assumptions. You would have identified the risk. You've got the risk mitigants, in terms of, should this happen, this is what I'm going to do. Should this happen, this is what I'm going to do. And then you go in once you have done your homework from that point of view. But yeah, you will never know. Let me put it directly.
So maybe in future we talk about an entrepreneurial BA that will do that, right?
Yeah,
Assessing those risks from an entrepreneur perspective, which is
Yeah.
what us as South Africa need, right?
Indeed.
To deliver those solutions from an entrepreneur perspective. Obviously, with
Indeed.
large corporates, we talk about the appetite and the failure ratio that they're willing to accept. As a BA, obviously, you want to do projects that are successful, but if that project fails, obviously it will be deemed as a failure. And in an agile world, we talk about squads. That squad would have failed in terms of delivering a proper output to customers. So obviously that will create fear in terms of failing and failing fast, right? It's a thin line, basically, if I can put it like that.
Yeah, I think Zeki, it's a catch-22, and I mean, let's not just paint it with one brush. Depend on the environment in terms of where you work, the type of organization, the culture that your organization subscribe to. Some organizations are very rigid. You can't fail, or you're not allowed to fail. There's no room for failure, because maybe we are budget tight, so we can't invest and gives people a space and a platform to try things out. You need to be sure that you know what you're delivering from that point of view. Some organization, maybe they've got the muscles to absorb failure and create a room, and a play sense for people to try things out. So differs from one organization to another, but it will be, I think one will be blessed if you find yourself in an organization that allows failure as a learning. It doesn't mean that you are incompetent, but it says they give you the space to think outside the box, the space to try things out, as long as the end in mind is being brought into it. If the end in mind is to beat the competitor, is to put us first in the market, is to make sure that we are leading in the industry that we operate in. If that's the end in mind, and we think this is a vehicle to take us there, then people are going to buy into that. I mean, as an executive, I would buy into that and create a space, for people to try things out. That's the entrepreneurship spirit I'm talking about. Yeah.
Lovely. Yeah, thanks, Opa. I think in closing, right? Over and above the technical and associated skills we touched on, what else can one do to thrive as a business analyst, or as an individual who wants to use business analysis skills? It's not necessarily a business analyst that is certified that can be a business analyst. Some people, they're business analysts, but they're not aware of that, right? But they are utilizing business analysis skills in terms of the whole flow of understanding the requirements, eliciting and collaborating and all that value chain. So what else from your side, Opa, can you just advise in terms of as BAs, and we talk about it in BA book as perspectives, people who are doing BA work that are not aware that they're doing BA work?
Great. Maybe to your point, I mean, my take is this is beyond just the BAs. This is just us as human beings. How can one thrive as a human being? In whatever way. How can you be maybe a good mother, a good father, a good boyfriend, a good whatever? It doesn't matter. So it applies, generically in every way as well. I think maybe technically one cannot overlook competency. You need to be competent in whatever you do. I mean, there's a book by, I think it's Malcolm Gladwell, called Outliers. He speaks about the 10,000 hours, which is the magic of greatness. To say, if you have done something and you've done it for more than 10,000 hours, you can basically call yourself a master of that thing. And if you follow sport, the guys that have stood out from the rest, whether in the golf, I mean, tennis, as an example, this past weekend or whatever, we had Alcaraz playing against Djokovic. If you follow his life, why is the boy so good started playing tennis at a young age, and they play tennis day in, day out, and all of that. So practice makes perfect, and practice and more practice is required. I think that's one, not skill, but that's one habit that one, I think, requires. Secondly, you need to be in the know, as I said earlier on. I think the research you read, you collaborate with like-minded individuals, it just broaden up your thinking so that you are not boxing yourself as a PA and you want to just do the PA work. Effective PAs, they've got also project management disciplines and skills and expertise, and they thrive. I was fortunate enough that I had a BA, but I had a PM and all of that, which works very well. That marriage is perfect because you can apply PM disciplines as you're delivering as a PA, etc. And the two, they gel in very nicely from that point of view. I think when the other non-technical skill is the attitude. You are engaging with the stakeholders, you are engaging with the business. You don't know it all. You are not an SME in most cases. You don't know their business. So the humility and the ability to engage at all levels is key. I've seen people getting it wrong. When they come to the boardroom, they are these nice people and professional people. When they go to the call center to engage and gather the requirements, they're being nasty. It can be. So how do you remain who you are? So we talk about authenticity, the integrity. I think it's very important as well. Maybe lastly is going beyond the scope. Stretch yourself, go beyond what your current responsibilities are. Because I always say, if you deliver to the ask, that's mediocre. I'm sorry to say, but if you deliver to what you've been assigned or being paid to do, that's just the normal run of the mill. But we talk about now going beyond excellence. It's just delivering more, is doing more than what you've been asked, extending yourself to projects that are outside your scope. And that's how most people make it in the corporate ladder, because of that stretch as well. And that's how you grow within most organizations as well. So to me, I think those are the key, let's not call it soft skills, but the key human skills that one will have to have. I think in the midst of all of this, perseverance is the way to go. It doesn't mean if you have this, then it's a straight line, there are no potholes. You're going to fail, you're going to be challenged, you're going to be pushed back. How do you persevere? How do you remain consistent? How do you remain reliable? How you don't give up, have a high purpose and just push and keep on keeping on. I think that's the way to go. Yeah. Thanks, Zeki.
Thanks, Opa. That was great, man. I think you put it well, perseverance, that last word. I think comrades runners will understand that you need to persevere. So that said, I think Liana, I can hand over to you so that at least you can take some questions, or Opa can take some questions, or we can take some questions if the audience want to ask me questions as well. Liana?
Okay.
Are there any questions?
Yeah, we've got a few questions here. From Bahrain, we've got, what is OPA's take on stakeholders on the same project who have conflicting requirements priority? What would be your advice, OPA, to a BA in such a situation? So we've got conflicting requirements priorities.
So thanks, Bahrain, for that question. My assumption here is that you've got these two stakeholders, both of them feel that their requirements are more important than they are, and something has to give. And from that point of view, am I getting it correctly? I guess. So
yes, it sounds like that.
Yeah. So to me, maybe it boils down to that same point, what we are trying to solve for. So one, there will be an element of influence that is required here. And in most cases, that cannot be done in the same boardroom. Maybe this is where the human skills come in. So how do you go back to the stakeholders on a one-on-one basis getting to understand their views and their point. And from your side, have a suggestion, because you're coming in as a neutral person, you're coming in from the BA point of view to say, what do we think will work best and why do we think so? So even if it does come across as if you are taking Zeki's requirements as more of a priority than mine, but if there's a rationale behind it and is not done for any other ulterior motive, but there's a bigger fish to fry here, of which we are delivering to the ask, one will have to accept and and maybe agree on whatever the proposal is. But you cannot do that and cannot be seen to be taking side in a boardroom or in a meeting of some sort. That's where you have to go lobby on one-on-one basis, give the reason behind your rationale, and be an evangelist of why do you think this approach is better than that approach? Why should this one go first? And then this one should be secondary from that point of view. That's the only way I think you could navigate that kind of a situation.
Thank you. Then Sipho Malele, how do you make sure that the solutions you suggest during the planning and design stages fit well with the organization's overall goals and plans? Is there a specific method or way that business analysts use to achieve this?
Yeah, thanks, Pumelele. Firstly, I think your question has got an answer in it. I'll tell you why. So the first part is, what are the organizational overall goals and plans? Because they need to be defined. What is it that the organization is driving? Whether it's a 2023 plan, it's a 2023 strategy document, whatever that might be, it has to be defined. So if as a BA, you have that. And I mean, in some organizations, they've got value drivers to say, probably for this year in 2023, we've got these 5 value drivers. These are the things that we're focusing on as an organization. So meaning that whatever solution that you are presenting or we are doing should fit within those 5. I'll give an example. Maybe you should within those 5 value drivers or those 5 goals and plans. So if you cannot map your solution against any of these 5, for argument's sake, goals and plans, then you know that your solution is not fit from that point of view. So you should be able to say, this solution, let's say, let's give an example. Let's say maybe those goals are, we want to improve our costs, we want to drive down our costs, we want to increase our profit, we want to make sure that we've got engaged employees, as an example. We want to delight our customers. Those could be the goals that the business could have set for themselves. If your solution cannot fit in any of these, your solution is not reducing the cost, is not addressing the cost issue, is not bringing any profit or increasing the market share, is not even delighting our customers that we can leapfrog the competition, then the solution is irrelevant to the goals and the plans of the business. So it's about mapping your solution to what the goals are. So the first point of call is to say, business, give me your goals and your plans for 2023, and then you map. And I always encourage the guys to say, when you report on that, you always have to make sure that is conspicuous. This solution is addressing this goal. Because at any given time, in any report, they know how you are driving the organizational goals. Then you are not doing something for yourself. I think that's the way to go about it. Thanks, Leah.
Bahrain has actually got another question, but we've still got 2 from Deborah also. I'm going to choose the first one. Why is business analysis tilted more towards systems development than process improvement, especially for small enterprises?
Yeah.
Our second question you might want to link because it's similar or there's synergy. How have you been able to use your BA skills to assist an SME? Please share your experience. So maybe we can combine those 2 questions.
Cool. I think on the first one, Deborah, around why business is tilted to more system development. I think traditionally, remember the BA, when it was introduced as a profession, most BAs, the biggest task was for them to produce a functional spec that they can hand over to the IT team to develop a technical spec. So it was inclined towards system development. It was around, give us a functional spec, engage the user, understand how they want this thing to work, give it to us from IT point of view, we will develop the system to respond to that. I think it's traditionally been the case. But I do agree with you, things have moved. This is where I don't think we need to be dogmatic in terms of this is what the BA is supposed to do. From process improvement point of view, a BA can initiate a project from that point of view, or an initiative to say, guys, we have identified a gap here. Maybe as part of process mapping, as an example. As you process map and you realize that we can optimize some of the processes, we can optimize some of the ways of delivery. That's where the business process development comes in as well. So that can be shifted, but it's not cast in stone to say it has to be inclined towards system development, but you could use it to influence the ways of work as you optimize the delivery model as well. Have I used the BA skills to assist the SMEs? Maybe not directly, but maybe indirectly, from my point of view. I mean, I had a friend of mine, for example, who had engine franchise garages, and he was struggling in terms of turning around his business and making money. And he didn't understand, where the gap was. He didn't understand where the hole was. He could see cars, he could see traffic coming in, but still not making money. Whether I applied the business analyst there, but it was more applying in terms of, okay, cool, let's understand what drives us. The first thing is to understand the whole value chain. Let's understand the value chain. How does it work? Let's understand the ecosystem. Who comes in, who comes out? Let's understand the processes. What processes do you have in play? And through that, you identified your poke holes in terms of the gaps, where we can improve, where we can modify. It doesn't mean everything has to be system solutioned. It can be just changing the processes, changing the ways of work, or decommissioning some of the processes as well. So you remove a lot of waste in the process, which also save costs as an SME, because we are becoming cost conscious as an SME, because you are limited from budget point of view. So I have applied from that point of view, and it has worked. It has worked very well in terms of the mindset, how you approach the business and running of the business efficiently from process point of view. So it's more of process optimization that I instilled. Thanks, Liana.
Okay, last question, time-wise too, Bahrain again. Businesses mainly has strategical, tactical, and operational functions. Where can BA skills be applied to make a meaningful, positive impact?
Bahrain, across. So let's unpack. Strategically, in most cases, maybe you'll align with me here. Strategically, in most cases, we normally talk about the ultimate solution. This is the solution that we're taking to the market, and this is what we're going to be leveraging off. That's number one. Tactically is mainly to say, in the interim, this is what we can work with, maybe based on certain dependencies, constraints, and etc. Then it says technically, this is what we're applying. And operational is more on the day-to-day basis. So the BA skills can be applied across. Maybe it's a matter of saying where you can invest more on it. I think strategically, definitely, because it's a game changer from that point of view. Because technically and operationally is more around saying, if it's not broken, don't fix it. So we're trying to maintain the status quo without investing much. That's technical and operational. But on strategically, we're trying to change and overhaul the whole system, the whole processes, the whole value chain. So I think we can invest more time on the strategical side, but the skills can be applied across. That's my view. Thanks, Liana.
Thank you. We've gone through all the questions. Zeki, back to you.
Thank you, Liana. Thanks, Opa, for taking those questions.
Thanks,
And I,
thank you.
Thank you again, very much again, Opa, for joining us. It was a great and insightful session. Hopefully everyone has something to take back home to implement as a BA, to have that seat on the strategy or apply the strategy analysis. Hopefully, Opa, you can come back again so that we can unpack strategy analysis more in depth
Cool.
in our
Happy.
tools and techniques, right?
Yeah.
So that at least we can have those value chains
Yeah.
unpacked more in terms of what and how we can do it. That said, thank you to everyone who has joined us this evening. If you have any questions, please post them on our email. We'll post it on the chat. It's devon@southafrica.iiba.org. And we will also respond to the questions on the chat if there's still more, and we'll send the response to all the participants. That said, ladies and gentlemen, it is 8 o'clock on the dot. I bid you good night. See you in our next session. Good night.
Good night.
Cheers. Thanks, Zaki. Cheers.
Thanks, everyone. Good night.
Thanks, Zaki. Bye.
Good night and thank you.
Thank you, Zaki and Hopa. That was a beautiful one. Thank you.
Thanks, Deborah. Cheers.
Bye-bye.